Oh, David Guetta, David Guetta. David Guetta, David Guetta. David Guetta, David Guetta. Oh, yeah, baby.
Welcome to the Big Reef Podcast. This is the free episode. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the best podcast and the only podcast. My name's Hayden Quinn.
And I'm Morgan Quinn, and this is going to be a swampy one for all you out there who like hanging out in the mud with the boys from Big Reef. What do I mean by that? You'll find out in due course.
Absolutely. Just a reminder to our listeners that if you want to get more of this kind of thing, this podcast, you can sign up to our Patreon for $8.50 in Australian dollars to get a second episode whenever we record them. Every second one goes behind a paywall. Heaps of other shit. Other exclusive content.
So much good stuff. And the first topic of today's conversation is Hayden. That's not the topic. That's me preluding the first question. What do you think about socks with sandals? Are you for them? Are you against them? Do you not have any strong opinion?
I do have a strong opinion. I want to hear about your take on it first. What are your thoughts?
I'm wearing them, so I think it's pretty good.
Wait, hang on. Did you say sandals?
Sandals. Yeah, or slides, as the kids are calling them these days.
So,
pair of slides.
Actual sandals, in my mind, are the ones that have the little annoying thing that go between your big toe and the other toes.
Ah,
is that right?
Oh, right. Yeah, and they're a slide, whereas a thong only.
A thong. Oh no, that's a thong, isn't it?
Thongs go between the toes.
Yes.
Sandals. Maybe sandals have like a back part that locks the ankle into place, and also like a kind of strappy thing. I just remember like kids in kindergarten wearing sandals, and I was like, get the hell out of here.
What is this?
You can't do that.
I don't want to look at your toes and your feet.
But those kids are now running Fortune 500 companies, so who's laughing now? Me, because they don't have time for laughter. They got employees to manage, I guess.
They're so busy. I love a sock with a sandal. Certainly not with a thong. And the only thing that I ever had against wearing these socks with sandals is the idea that you'd wear socks with thongs, because then like the thing that goes between your toes rides the sock up between your toes, and that would be really uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, you're going to get all sorts of slippage in that kind of scenario.
I'm not into that. But I have Crocs, which are a form of sandal, I suppose.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, I need socks. I can't wear them without some kind of insulation or something like that.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah,
we love the Crocs.
What about you?
Yeah, I like it all. Anything to protect my feet from the weather. I got a new character out. I probably shouldn't.
You got a new character?
I probably shouldn't do the new character.
Oh, you made a new character?
Yeah, you know about the new character. This is probably more suitable for our other more racy podcast.
The more racy podcast behind the paywall. All right, let's table that for now. I was going to say, I think a lot of the reason a lot of people would have an issue against socks with sandals is aesthetically, right? I think that some people think it looks really bad. Yeah. I don't agree. I like it. I think it's a cool look.
It's like
Now America. You're gonna have to. What's that again?
Now America.
Welcome to Now America. This is Hayden Quinn, and I'm here with my co-host.
Welcome to Now America Life. Sandals and socks. Dum, 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 dum. Curious thing is that not many people know that you can actually wear them in tandem.
I've actually been wearing sandals a lot longer than anybody else in my family, and I found out that
there's actually a darker side to this mystery. Ding, 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 ding.
Morgan, what's your favorite episode of Now America?
Now America Life.
With Sambenson.
With Ermin Plastic.
I'm Ermin Plastic, and today we're going to be looking at sandals and socks. Cool or not? Cool.
Yeah, I like the 6-part episode that they did on sandals and socks, which is where I got the idea for the topic of conversation today. Sandals and socks. Hayden, what do you think about them?
I already told you what I think about them. But I'd rather be
Gotcha.
told. I'd rather be told what to think about them by listening to Now America. Now America, man, it's a good podcast. You should be listening to Now America right now.
But in America, I didn't realize, and I guess it's because in Australia we have...
You mean the United States of America, I presume, or just North America?
Not united for very much longer, but let's not go there.
That's also for the other podcast.
I mean, they're having all sorts of trouble
It's
over there
crazy.
right now. Have you heard about this Donald Tunt?
I've heard about
Donald
him.
Trump?
I think, and Joe Biden, the man, he's old.
We've got to stop the wall. The wall is getting taller every day.
I'm Joe Biden, and everybody thinks the wall is good, but I think it's actually bad.
What was the thing about the wall? I've never heard Joe Biden speak. So.
Yeah, he sounds something like that.
Yeah, I'm your grandpa. He's like,
That's what
I'm
it
your
sounds
grandpa.
like.
Actually, I was telling my partner Lucy about all the silly things I used to do when I was a wee lad, and I want to run you through them and see if you remember them.
Okay, now are these for the Patreon only podcast as well? Or?
Yeah, so block your
we
ears.
have so little to talk about that. Okay, all right.
Block your ears.
Sneak peek.
If you are not a Patreon subscriber for the next, I'm going to say 40 to 50 minutes. If I was to say, just like Jason, would you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? So that's a phrase that you used to say pretty frequently when you were kids.
Yeah. I don't know about other kids, but I used to get
Just like Jason!
I get like a phrase stuck in my head for months and just have to say it over and over again.
Right.
To the chagrin of my colleagues / family members.
But they weren't phrases from anything. They were just like weird combinations of words that you found amusing.
Yeah, just sounds that I like saying in a particular voice.
We've got heaps of these.
I think I had a play date with a child named Jason when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, and I don't know if other people can remember this far back, but I
don't know if other people can remember your play date with Jason.
Can you remember my play date?
Do you guys remember?
I don't know if you could cast your minds back to me hanging out with Jason. And
how old do you reckon you were?
I reckon I was like 3 or 4, old enough to ride a tricycle around a garage.
Yep.
And
our garage or his?
Jason's family's garage. And my mum, who is also your mum.
Welcome to Jason's family garage.
And Jason's mum.
Garages. Sorry. So
and Jason's mum were having a conversation on the patio, and me and Jason were in their garage, which I remember being empty, apart from like around the perimeter they had tools and all this sort of stuff. But I suppose they would usually put a car in there, and the car wasn't in there.
Okay.
So we were able to ride our little bikes around and around in circle, and they had like a 24 pack of Fanta. Yeah, and we were just going to town, like drinking them and drinking
How
them. How
many?
I feel like it was a lot, but it was probably...
You were unsupervised.
Probably only like 2 or 3, yeah.
Oh, man.
And I got in a lot of trouble from Mum for that. But I just remember we were just like screaming and like chasing each other around in a circle on these bikes, like drinking Fanta, going nuts. But I think that's where I got just like Jason from.
But like, literally just like Jason did. No, Jason's parents didn't say, "Oh, just like Jason" or something, and you thought it sounded fucking stupid.
Maybe something like that happened, or maybe I got in trouble, and then she was like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, "Well, because Jason asked me to, or Jason was doing that." And you don't have to be just like Jason,
and then
just like Jason.
Yeah, just the idea. Those kind of things happen so frequently to me as well, and it still happens today. But like some of them, certainly stick around from our childhood,
just
where like the idea of saying it like that, I think often they stem from like someone saying something and the inflection coming out kind of like stupid, and you or I will hang on to it like that sounded so fucking stupid, and I just want to say it over and over again and turn it into some kind of catchphrase.
Like when we used to have the Finocchiaro brother and siblings over before school, before we would walk to school, because their parents would go to work early, I guess.
So our mum would help look after these 2 other kids that were like in more or less our same. I think the older girl, the daughter, was in my year, and Mum knew the parents somehow, and so we'd spend a lot of time with them before school, and sometimes we'd go to their place. It was sort of one of these babysitting exchanges.
They were sort of the Rod and Todd Flanders
They very much
of
were
the school.
that, yes.
And we were playing Connect 4 before school one day, and the elder one was like on the cusp of winning, or she did win, and she said Connect 4 like it was from a commercial or something. And then I think she went on to say that like if you won a game or something but you didn't say it, and
no, yeah, I think that's where it came from. One of you or me or even our older sister won like a round of Connect 4, and we're like, sick, I won. And she was like, no, you have to say Connect 4.
Yeah, you have to say Connect 4.
It's sort of like I think one of the rules in Uno is that when you're down to your last card, you have to say Uno.
Yeah.
And if you don't and someone calls you out on it, maybe you have to pick up 5 cards or something like that.
Yeah.
And there are rules like this in some of these.
Once you win, you say Connect 4 to show people that you have won and the game is over.
But if you haven't and someone puts their chip in real fast and before you can say it, then actually you didn't win.
Yeah. It could have been one of those ones.
Connect 4.
Connect 4.
Why would you ever want to say that?
And then one day we were walking to school with them, and I got into a huge argument with the younger kid about, because the pecking order / age went like you and girl, and then the boy, and then and then me. And I got into a big argument with him about like one day I was going to be older than him. I thought
that was what you decided.
Yeah, I thought I was going to take over. Thought I was going to like move up a rank, that it would be my turn one day.
I think the reason that you thought that was because like intellectually you were already there.
Yeah, I could
hold your own.
I could defeat him in Connect 4.
Young Finocchiaro.
I could convince him that I was going to be older than him at one point.
You weren't just fucking with him to see whether you could like actually confuse him and make him believe it?
No, I
genuinely
thought that I would.
So maybe you weren't intellectually ahead of him.
I was just holding out hope, and I still do hold out hope, and I proved him wrong, because now I'm 17 years older than him and he's still a little boy. He's still playing with that little Connect 4 set.
Imagine if he was dead and that's how you'd proved him wrong. You're now older than him.
Yeah. And then one time we were traveling to... Again, it must have been like 3 or 4. I remember sitting in the back right seat, and we're traveling to, all of us, to a family, like hanging out with another family. Must have been Dad's friends, called the Cowans.
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to bring the Cowans up too. This is a good one.
Yeah, and the dad's name was John Cowan.
John Cowan.
And I was like looking out the window and looking at the mountains, and something about the speed we were traveling made me, and I was bored. I thought...
So you actually do remember the etymology of this one?
Yeah. And I remember thinking like... I'll just pretend I'm commentating a horse race.
Right.
And so I was like, but I didn't have enough knowledge of it to like make it any more entertaining than just to say, and John Cowan's coming up around the bend now, and here he is. He's coming up front. He's coming up behind him now, and then it's John Cowan.
John Cowan's in the lead.
John Cowan's in the lead. He's coming up now. He's coming up. And all these, sometimes these things would like crack people up for a minute, and then I guess I got a high off that, and I just wouldn't stop. And
but John Cowan certainly is like still something that I think about and sometimes say. John Cowan also, though, like it wasn't just, again, it was a name, and for some reason our parents would refer to him always as John Cowan.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like, well, it just sounded so regal, or so like, why are they calling him John? Is his whole name John Cowan? John Cowan? Yeah. John Cowan?
John Cowan.
It just sounded so strange. And so, I think like it was a unique, like, a unique combination of syllables to like roll out of your mouth. And it's fun to John Cowan, John Cowan, John Cowan now, John Cowan now, John Cowan.
We're going to John Cowan's this weekend.
John Cowan.
And that probably is how Dad pronounced it as well.
That's probably it.
Yeah. We're going to John Cowan's this weekend. Who the fuck were the Cowans?
The Cowans.
What were we doing?
I don't know.
It must have been a few times we went there, I think. And
they
then,
were all right.
And then never again.
I like them. I think as like a 10-year-old boy, I had a crush on the
John Cowan.
older sister. And John Cowan. And Jan Cowan. Yeah.
And I had... and one more was a little bit older. Maybe I was like 10 or 11, and I'd be like playing a computer game. Let's say Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit.
Sure, we can say that.
On Windows 98. And you would come in and be like, Morgan, have you seen the PlayStation or the soccer ball or
because the PlayStation was always going missing.
Yeah.
For some reason, it wasn't plugged into the TV.
Have you seen where the Crash Bandicoot disc is?
Oh, okay, the disc maybe.
Have you seen the PlayStation disc?
Yeah. Have you seen the PlayStation disc?
And I would respond with, I do not know, I do not know, I do not have a clue. But if you want to know, maybe.
That's
and
a good one.
That would get more and more, like I'd get more, I do not know, until you're like, all right, okay, I know what you're going to say. Stop. Don't do that anymore. These are all good things.
They're so good. And I like it when they make a return. I thought I wasn't sure that I do not know was one of your inventions. I sort of like, in my old age and mixed up memories and stuff, almost thought that was one of mine. But I couldn't tell you a story like you just told me. So
maybe it was.
I wouldn't be sure.
Has sort of a nursery rhyme quality to it. It's got a rhythm, a musicality, and I guess that's where we really started as a band. Was these things?
Yeah, I have one, but I can't think of it. So that's good. Good for the podcast, isn't it?
That is pretty good. I've been watching a couple of TV shows, bouncing back between them.
Entourage.
Yep, that's one of them.
How deep are you into Entourage?
One season down.
And so you mentioned to me, because we were talking about this the other day, that you'd never seen it before. I thought you were across it. Entourage is like a fantastic bad show. It's one of the best bad shows ever made. It's so bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite character so far?
Oh, look, it's got to be Ari. Ari steals the show.
So good.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, he kills it.
He's looking over his shoulder all the time.
But of the main four, who's your favourite?
Oh,
they're
drama.
all bad.
Drama.
Yeah, drama, I guess.
Drama's
right?
just, he's the most entertaining. He's got pathos as a character, you know. He's already gone for a couple of auditions, and you can see, like, he's actually kind of knocking this out of the park in a cringy kind of way. And then he gets in his own way by being offended that somebody in the room is looking at their phone while he's acting.
Yes.
And then he explodes and, like, you know, he's got a bad reputation in Hollywood for that very reason. But his acting is actually not probably that bad. He knows where to stand. He knows how to look. He's probably not like he's not a John Malkovich or a John Cowan by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I think he's the most entertaining. Turtle, whatever.
Turtle,
fine.
He's insufferable.
Yeah.
I mean, like, probably, like, that's who I actually relate with the most, and maybe that's why I hate him so much. It's like the calculated thinking, like planning, like gotta stay on goal and like figure this all out and make it come true with no je ne sais quoi whatsoever. But maybe that's, I think a lot of characters in TV shows or movies that I hate the most are the ones that, like, I can see too much of myself in. I'm like, God, that guy fucking sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, Vinny's cool. He always makes things work, and just, you know, he just goes with the flow. He's got a real zen attitude. But I would say E is probably actually the protagonist. You know,
you reckon?
He feels like the main character.
Sometimes. it's pretty annoying though.
Yeah,
an annoying main character. But Vince is also very annoying as well.
Yeah, he's a bit arrogant, but they don't have much flavor to them, I guess. I don't.
Turtle's a pain in the ass. They're all shit. I don't like one of them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like it's Mark Wahlberg's story, right? I don't know how involved he is with, how involved he was with writing any of the scripts or any of that. But I think it's like, you know, like, I don't know, he was EP on it or something, Enormous Penis, and he like made bank on it. But I think kind of the idea is you've got the Wahlbergs, and Mark Wahlberg was the hugest star, and his oldest brother, is it Donnie?
Oh yeah, that rings a bell.
Is like they were both in
a soap opera.
No, they were both in the pop group.
The Marky Mark and the Wahlberg.
No, Marky Mark broke out from fucking
Bunchy Mark and the Wahlbunk.
Bunchy Mark.
Bunchy Marks and the Wahlbunks trains. Take
Take
that.
something. It's not take that.
Give me this.
It takes two. It's not it takes two. It's what's the song?
Boys to big boys.
Boys
to men.
It's Backstreet Men.
Boys
Boys to the Backstar Boys.
M Stink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The right stuff. Dun, dun, the right stuff.
White Men Can't Jump.
He was in White Men Can't Jump with his older brother, and Donnie was a little like older. His hairline started receding sooner. I mean, I hate Mark Wahlberg. I don't know whether I like his acting. I don't know that he is a good actor or not. But I think the only thing that I can think about when I think about Mark Wahlberg is his inability to grow a beard and his like insistence on always having facial hair.
Okay.
You know these people that like, look, whatever. I can't grow the thickest beard. I can grow a bit of stuff on my face and that's fine.
Yeah.
But when I see someone who just like for whatever reason the way that the hair comes through on their face is like this weird sort of like almost like a weird line that kind of runs from one ear, does a spiral sort of like there's a bit of condensation down the bottom of their chin and then like a big chunk on the left side for some reason. Like that's just the way the facial hair comes out of their face and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna grow a beard, and then they do, and like long parts of hair come out of those sections, and then they have big bald. It just looks horrible, and that's Mark Wahlberg.
No, I can't stand
it. And that bothers me.
But he was good in The Departed. I've got to give him that.
Was he good in? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think
he plays Martin Sheen's like right hand man. I mean, it's a pretty one-dimensional character.
But then he
reveals his second dimension at the end, where he
is the rat.
Spoilers
at the end
is the rat.
He's that rat that runs across the.
But I remember watching that for the first time when I was like 15 or something, and just being so confused because it's all what is it set in? It's set in Boston or Philly? Oh yeah, Boston. So it's all this like all these Irish Catholic guys, and they all kind of look the same.
They kind of do.
Alec Baldwin, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, and Mark Wahlberg all have this like pinched face where they're Did
you say Matt Damon?
Did I say Matt Damon? Yeah, Matt Damon,
definitely.
Mark Wahlberg.
No, you're totally right.
Their eyes
all look very similar.
Get pulled back, and they have like this sharp, like.
Yeah, no, I agree. They don't look similar in the way that like, like. There's some sort of je ne sais quoi style. That's the word or phrase of the week. Like there's something about their aesthetic that's crazy similar.
The Big Reef Podcast, yeah.
But it's not like, oh, these guys have a very similar nose or eyebrow. It is an aesthetic thing. It's an overall aesthetic thing, and I think pulled back. Maybe they all got the same kind of plastic surgery from the same place that era.
It's a squinty-eyed thing, you know,
and it doesn't help that the entire movie is about like, is this guy like the rat for that guy who's actually double crossing that guy? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, that doesn't help. I wish they didn't include that in the movie.
It should be really clear. It should be Leonardo is like working for the police and Wahlberg is working for the mob, and we should know that from the beginning, and that's how the whole movie goes all the way through to the end, and then it resolves.
Jack Nicholson also in that movie.
Jack Nicholson.
And then the other TV show I've been watching.
Well, can we freeze because seldom does something come up that I actually have a bit of information on. And Jeremy Piven.
The bar. That hot new bar.
He does kill. Like, Jeremy, he absolutely steals the show.
Yeah, every episode I'm looking forward to seeing.
He's the best. It's funny and it's awful at the same time.
But there are just cameos all throughout. Like, you hear Larry David's voice. I'm like, oh, there's Larry David. And it's like Larry David in passing talking to Ari. And because it's an HBO show and Curb was taking off as well around that time, it makes sense to get a bunch of cameos from actors that are on other HBO shows.
Also, like a key writer on that show is, who's the guy that wrote heaps of Seinfeld episodes?
Larry Charles.
Larry Charles wrote a lot of Entourage, yeah.
Yeah, he was in the audition scene as well with Johnny Drama.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's connections, but Larry David wasn't funny. It wasn't a funny exchange. It was just like a brief
you have heaps of those. Or like Vinny walks past, like, I don't know, fucking Christina Aguilera is like, hey, Christina! And she's like, hey, Vinny, hope we'll see you at the club tonight. And that's the entire use of her being in the... it's a good show, man.
I think
I gotta watch this
There's a cool element to it where, because of all of that, and then sometimes they'll mention famous people, and you'll be like, oh, I wonder if we're going to see that famous person. And then sometimes you don't. It's just like,
Right.
because they're in that world, of course they're going to talk about it, and of course they're going to run into people.
I like. I think if you've only just seen the first season, I can't remember. It was so long ago I watched this, but they introduce a film director who's like a creative genius, but also like self-sabotaging.
Yeah,
I think
have introduced him.
I think he's modelled off Gallo, I think is the thing.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what
Yeah,
I
I was watching it and I was
understood
like,
him to be.
It's got to be Vincent. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name?
Billy?
Billy.
Billy is the name of the character.
Yeah, he's pretty insufferable. They're all insufferable.
Yeah. And then they do a screening of his movie to see if...
Is this Queens Boulevard or is this something else? I can't...
It's the movie... Yeah, it is Queens Boulevard that they decide to make with him. But to decide whether he's a worthy director for Vinny, they watch his previous movie in the screening room, and then it ends, and it looked kind of like wanky, and it's all black and white, and then they look at each other like, did you just see what I just saw? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're going to say it's shit, right? And they're like, that was great. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I don't know what's good and what's bad in this universe. You never know what people are going to say, but I guess that's storytelling. You find out as the story goes along.
I think I've got to rewatch it. That's sick. You've got me excited. Now I'm starting to remember stuff. Mark Wahlberg, like, so when I first moved out of home and moved down to Melbourne, me and my friend John, like, for whatever reason, John was
John Cowan?
John Cowan.
That dude you had a crush on when you were like 6?
No, his daughter. I didn't have a crush on... Oh, wait, no, I did. That's right. He was like, hey, there's this show. It's called Entourage. Why don't we watch it? And it was like a bonding thing. Like, we would make plans pretty frequently outside of work and stuff like this to just as something to do. It sounds so odd now, because my life is so busy and I'm so much older, but like once or twice a week to go catch up with a friend who lived down the road and just watch the next episode of a TV show. Yeah. Anyway, so we would watch Entourage, and that was our thing we did together, and we, over years and years, because I think we eventually caught up to when like it was live coming out. On TV. We'd catch up and we'd watch it. And when that ended, we eventually saw the movie together. But because of, you know, this love-hate relationship we had with the show, we then, when it ran out, needed something to fill that void. And I can't remember if there... Oh, yeah. And so the next thing that we watched was Wahlburgers, which is a reality TV show about... And so the connected thread there was like, this was a Mark Wahlberg like production, right? Like the first thing was like kind of trying to tell the story of Mark Wahlberg and his older brother, but not really. And then we were like, all right, now we're watching this reality TV show called Wahlburgers, which is like a behind the scenes of his very, very ugly, like middle brother that no one knows anything about, Paulie Wahlberg, who is like a chef and opened a burger chain in Boston called Wahlburgers. And it's just a really bad reality TV show about the trials and tribulations of that. And you get to meet like the whole Wahlberg family, like the brothers, the siblings. They're like an Irish, Boston Irish family with like 7 siblings. And they go into like how their youngest daughter like died at the age of 2, and you constantly like catching up with the mum and stuff, and she's a hard woman, you know. She's been through it all, you know. Irish Catholic Boston woman. She's really Marky, and all the siblings owe a lot to her. And then every now and then you'd meet like a different sibling that you only saw once a season. You're like, who the fuck's that guy? And there was like one brother who just refused to be in the reality TV show. Yeah, it was great.
They blur his face out.
And then when that ended, I'd moved back to Canberra.
There's more?
There's more. John and I, John informed me that now there's a reality TV show called Wall Street, WAHL Street, about Mark Wahlberg and his many like his investments. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
About like I think he like invested heavily in F40. What's that gym There's like a gym exclusive crazy gym franchise.
Yeah, I recognize
F45, F42.
Yeah, I can recognize it. It's got like American flag or something.
Six-part miniseries about him trying to invest in that and launch it and get money, and then COVID hits and stuff like that. Never watched the second season, so I know a lot about Mark Wahlberg and his family. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, the Wahlbergs are certainly doing well for themselves, it seems. I don't know what else he's been in, like what he's...
Yeah, so have you seen him in anything else that has been impressive?
I've never seen him. I've never seen the man. I can't think of anything that he's like... Oh, wait. He was in The Wrestler. No, The Fighter, I think.
The fuck is that?
It's a movie is about brothers. So it's about him. I'm pretty sure it was him. Is it called The Boxer or The Fighter? I think it's called The Fighter. So him and Christian Bale. Christian Bale's his older brother. Christian Bale used to be a successful boxer, but now is on the crank and
is he?
Is like, decimated, but is kind of his boxing coach.
Mm-hmm. And
they're from a low income family, lower middle class family. Again, I think in Boston. And it's all about, I guess, Mark Wahlberg having to choose between his career and his family, and I can't remember why that is. Or maybe it's more like he can't tell if he should trust his family, because now that he's becoming kind of famous and has a lot of money, he feels like they're mooching off him, or maybe that's what his partner is trying to like. It's a story of loyalty, I guess, and trying to decide where your loyalties lie. And it was a good movie. Christian Bale's really good, and Mark Wahlberg. If it's him, then he did pretty well.
I've brought up his filmography. I think like where he like broke out was Boogie Nights.
Oh yeah, I need to watch that again because I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I love half of his movies. The Phantom Thread, There Will Be Blood, and The Master I can watch like once a year. I think they're amazing movies.
I don't think I've seen any of them, and I've only seen like the first 20 to 30 minutes of Boogie Nights. Is that PTA?
Yeah, that's his breakout movie. I think 1996, and everybody's like, that's the one, Right. Hard 8 is the one that he did before that.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch that forever.
I like that a lot as well. I think he did Magnolia as well.
That sounds like someone else. He was in Max Payne as Max Payne. I didn't know that was a movie. Yeah, apparently.
It was a video game.
He was in The Italian Job, which I think is very, very bad, but I saw that, so that's why I bring it up. Obviously, The Departed we talked about. I'm just kind of... He was in The Fighter. Ted, of course.
Okay.
Transformers. There's not much on here that you would be like, oh yeah, classic. Yeah. I'm only up to 2021. Yeah, there's not. Why is he so? I don't know that he is that well regarded, is he?
No, I think he's all right. He knows his lines. He doesn't mess it up. There's some, there are a few actors.
Planet of the Apes.
It's like Keanu Reeves. I could never really understand. Is he good? I mean, I've only really seen him in The Matrix, and I guess Speed, and maybe Point Break. And it's just these guys that are sort of like protagonists in video games, where if you can just be a blank canvas for the audience to project themselves onto, then you're doing okay. But you're not going to necessarily take any risks while you're acting and do anything terribly interesting. Or
I think one thing I'd say about Keanu Reeves though is that he has a thing that he does. Like he's not a great actor, I don't think. But at least when you see Keanu Reeves in a film, he's very unique in the way that he presents and acts, right?
Yeah.
The way he delivers lines, and like, I don't know that it's good, but it's certainly, I can't think of anyone else who talks like that in that cadence, or like lets words or pulls facial expressions is really unique.
Yeah, he is.
And like, I don't know if like attractiveness has like much to do with that, but obviously it does. But like this coalescence of attractiveness and like saying things like in a kind of It's almost like the way
Almost a
that people
robot.
used to make fun of the way that Shatner used to speak. It's very unique, right?
Well, it's like we like to say on this podcast, I know Kung Fu. And
We do like to
just
say that.
Keanu Reeves. And as it's tradition, we are in Hayden's house recording this podcast today.
Nice and warm
We're
in
in
here.
a different,
It's nice.
a different location. It's not my flat. And
We're
that's
here in
that's
the
just
house.
tradition to be somewhere else.
Did you know that he played Keanu in Keanu?
What's that?
I don't know.
A
I'm not going to click the
documentary
link.
about his horrible life. Apparently,
I'm
he's had a
gonna
horrible
assume
life.
that.
I don't want to talk about his horrible life. Apparently, he's had a horrible life.
And yet,
Him and
Keanu
I wanna make
Reeves
like
still
a-
walks among us.
And yet, Keanu Reeves still walks among us. Yeah, and Kelsey Grammer apparently had a very difficult life.
So now we're just talking about people that had difficult
He
lives.
had difficult lives. Oh, mate, apparently Kelsey Grammer was just pissed on set the whole way through Frasier.
Actually? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Him and Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, 'cause
he
he
was
was in
on Frasier.
Wait,
He-
was
he played
Daniel
the brother.
Radcliffe known for being pissed on set?
Yeah, there's
when
like
he was
there's
in Harry
quotes of
Potter?
him being like, I would go out and have late nights the night before. I wouldn't
Right.
drink on set, but I would
Right.
come on set and act, and I'd still be drunk.
Yes.
Not just hungover, but still drunk.
Nice
and it explains all of that parcel tongue that he talks through those movies.
So true.
Because you can only do that when
I'm
you're
looking
off
forward,
your head.
Morgan, I'm looking forward to you finishing the Harry Potter movies. I feel like it's been going for months, and the sooner you stop talking about Harry Potter movies. I was thinking about this the other night. I don't know why, but like, I love the Harry Potter books. They're really, really good. I really, really enjoy them.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these fucking insane, annoying people about it, but like, I really, really like those books.
Yeah.
The movies, the idea of watching any of them ever is so unappetizing to me. And I was just thinking, because you're going through them at the moment, I thought maybe you were kind of doing it not as a bit, but as sort of like, this is a thing I'll do. But like, do you really like them?
I do. I really like them.
You really
I've
enjoy
seen
them?
them all multiple times.
Yeah, right.
I think that they all capture the essence of the books really well. Like the scenery and the costumes and everything is just done like
The way you imagined
the way
it.
I imagined it in my head. It's pretty astonishing, I think.
I think aesthetically, mostly I agree with you, but I still like the movies bore the shit out of me. I can't do it.
No, I do like the movies. They're nowhere near as good as the books, which have much more detail, and the descriptions are, I don't know, somehow more whimsical. And obviously them being child actors doesn't help.
No.
They're pretty good by the time the fifth one rolls around. The first two I think are really good adaptations of the books. Then the third one I think is the most stylistically interesting, and there's
The first one.
the third one.
Third one,
The third
sorry,
one,
okay.
because there's all this time travel. They, it's not hugely inventive, but they
It's
show
like Memento for kids.
Well, it is like Pulp Fiction, basically,
kids.
for children.
It's
for
Pulp
little
Fiction
babies.
on ice.
They were going to call Harry Potter and the Prisoner of
we should put
Azkaban
together
Pulp Fiction for
on ice.
babies. Pulp Fiction. But the third one, they keep showing like clocks throughout the movie.
Like in the background and stuff.
Yeah, and like
that's some Kubrick shit.
the sound of clocks and stuff.
Hey, have you seen? I'm changing the subject. Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut?
Yeah,
I need to watch that again.
I've seen it a couple times. I don't know. It's like
I loved it when I saw it.
it's just,
But again, don't remember anything about it.
it still looks amazing, and the story is interesting. And maybe I need to watch it again because like Kubrick movies, I feel like when you watch them, they're not complicated, but they sink into you and they stay with you. And I'll be thinking about, particularly a Space Odyssey, but also Full Metal Jacket. I'll just be thinking about them for like a week. Like, what was that trying to tell me?
Yeah.
And Full Metal Jacket in particular, I think, is a really interesting movie because it doesn't say anything in particular. It just lays out the events, and you
watch them.
You decide how you feel about it.
Yeah.
There's no like war is horrible, or like, obviously that's kind of implicit in some of the things that happen, but I guess it's more a statement on what humans are capable of when they I don't know what happens when a war occurs and people are drawn into it and people are still people, versus I guess Apocalypse Now is more about the way that the human psyche can kind of fray and eventually pull apart. With Martin Sheen's character, he's like traumatized by his first tour of Vietnam, but then he can't live a normal life in America, and he's like kind of desperate for a second mission to get back into the shit. And then Marlon Brando's character is completely nuts. So that movie's saying something. But yeah, the third Harry Potter movie is, they have all these transitions like between the seasons. They use the Whomping Willow as a device to show, like snow on the Whomping Willow, and then it shakes it off, and then it turns green, and then autumn leaves, and just stuff like that that the other movies don't put that kind of thought into. The fourth movie sucks. It's just cheesy and it's just not.
Is
good.
That your favorite book?
That was my favorite book.
Is it still your favorite book?
That one really took it to another level, and I remember being on a holiday at the time and just I couldn't stop reading it, and as soon as I finished reading it, I read it again. The fifth one was a real slog. I think that's the longest one.
I loved the fifth one when I read it.
Yeah.
That was my favorite when I read them.
That was the darkest, I think. And that movie... Because it's all different directors until the fifth movie.
I think that's my favorite movie.
Yeah, we were watching the fifth one, and I think we didn't finish the fourth one. We got like halfway through it, and I'm like, let's just go to the fifth one.
Okay.
And as soon as the fifth one started, I was like, this looks so good.
Yeah.
They have like these huge aerial shots. At the beginning of the movie, Harry's like depressed because he saw Cedric die, and he's swinging on this swing.
That's right.
In this like vacant
it's
playground.
almost like grunge 90s music video style in all of that.
Yeah, it's like a Linkin Park music video.
Yeah, it is. And they managed to make like a playground in England look like sweltering hot and horrible and sweaty and stuff, which is, it's interesting.
But they don't lose the humor, even though it's a darker movie. Like, you get Dudley bullying Harry, and that was very funny in the movie, and there's all these just funny bits.
This is a Harry Potter podcast now.
Oh, I love Harry Potter, and also just like the lighting and the way that a lot of the characters throughout the movie have shadows on half their face and stuff. Like, it just looks so good. And I'm glad that they kept the same director, because the first four movies are all different directors.
Right.
And then I was looking it up and I'm like, this looks so good. Who directed this? And then the sixth one started. I'm like, this is also really good. And turns out David Yates directed the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth movie. And the charm, I guess, of that fifth movie and that directing style kind of wears off. But I don't know. It kind of carries it through to the end. We haven't finished it. We're up to the seventh one, about halfway through the seventh one. And they're at that point now where they have to really leave out a lot of the details. But they don't leave out anything crucial, and they all still flow pretty well. But the best scenes are the ones, obviously, where there's no children in it.
Right.
Like the third movie, you get this great scene towards the end. Although there are kids there, they don't say anything.
It's like a face-off between... Is it Snape and what's his name?
At first it's
like the
Sirius and Lupin,
and
they hug, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And then Snape comes in, and it's these three guys and Wormtail's there, and for the first time in the series, you see like some really good acting. And then there's another scene in the sixth one that's just like Severus and Bellatrix and Lucius's mum doing the unbreakable vow.
Right, yeah.
That's really good as well. And then at the start of the seventh one, you get
that part of that book is really well written.
Yeah, it's really cool. You don't know what's happening. You don't know why Snape is doing what he's doing. And then the seventh one starts with Voldemort, or rather, he who should not be named, he must not be named.
That is much better.
He's having a meeting with like the Death Eaters at this long table, and you get to see Ralph or Rafe Fiennes, But he's doing all the acting in this scene. But it's a really well written scene, and again, just all adults, and those scenes just they kick ass, and they give everything such a weight. But anyway, they're good movies.
I've never seen the last one. I think, yeah. So I should probably watch the last one day. But yeah, I certainly remember. I think number 5 is. I can't remember number 6 or 7 very well at all. But number 5 was the first time I was like, oh, this is paced properly as well.
Yeah.
For like something that like because that's such a struggle, especially as the books get longer, to be able to turn it into a movie. That the movies are getting a little bit longer. We have to cut a bunch of stuff out, but with each movie, we have to do, stretch it out and fit a larger book into it. I think that it's an achievement to be able to take, one of the largest ones and pace it perfectly. It was really clever. I won't be watching those films again.
I mean, the first one is obviously, we get entered into the world. The second one, there's this murder on the loose in the school. So there's that scary mystery of what's going on there. The third one's tricky because there's not really... I mean, Sirius Black is on the loose, so that's a threat. The fourth one is tricky because...
The fourth one is the Mighty Ducks.
It's the Mighty Ducks.
It kind of is. It's like the fourth book is like, all right, there's a competition. We're going to enter the guy who shouldn't win into it, and we're going to root for him.
Yeah.
And we want him to... And, I think that's why I dislike the fourth book and the fourth movie so much, is that that to me is it's too archetypical Disney movie or standard it's... I think the other ones are more Sherlock Holmesy or Miss Marpley.
There's always a mystery to uncover.
Yeah, whereas that fourth one, yes, there still is a mystery to uncover, and I think the idea of bringing journalists into it, and if you listen to, oh man, we're getting so nerdy about the lamest shit.
Yeah, but the world expands.
J.K. Rowling is clearly a skepticism of big media and fucking what's Murdoch Press and stuff like this. There's all of that in Rita Skeeter and those are interesting ideas, I guess.
But no, the fifth
I
one,
just don't like the fourth one.
The fifth one does a great job of building up the relationship between Harry and Sirius. And in the movie, they don't drop the ball on the crucial moment where he dies, and there's some really gut wrenching moments there, like when him and Sirius are facing off against a couple of the Death Eaters in the Ministry of Magic, and Harry lands a good blow on an opponent, and Sirius is like, "Nice one, James," and then 2 seconds later, Bellatrix kills Sirius. So he has this moment of oh wow, he mistook me for thing, and then he's just dead 2 seconds later. It's bone crunching. The other TV show that I'm watching, so I watched one season of Entourage, and then I was like, well, what's another one that I haven't seen? Another one, and I started watching Sex and the City.
Yeah, and so how are you? So I've never seen this.
Yeah, so I'm halfway through it at the first season, and it's watchable. It's good. I don't really know where I'm getting enjoyment from it, other than it's obviously told from a female perspective. It's about 4 females in New York. The protagonist,
the titular city
in the city itself. She's writing a column about sex and relationships and stuff, and I don't know. It's just, I guess I'm finding it enjoyable because I've spent most of my life
not writing columns or living in New York City.
Well, I've barely written any columns about sex or the city. But I love Martin Scorsese movies, and I love things that I can relate to very easily and very directly. And so watching stuff that is from a perspective that I'm not necessarily just going to understand innately is oh yeah, I understand everything that they're saying. I understand where they're coming from. It's not blowing my mind or anything.
Right.
But it's a whole experience to, I guess, just sort of empathize with other perspectives on the city and on sex. But it's not funny.
Is it enjoyable? Is it intriguing? Are you being engaged by the storylines and the arcs and stuff?
Well, I guess the main storyline is she's interested in this character they call him Mr. Big, and I don't know if we're ever going to learn his name. And I assume it's because he's tall, not because he has a big penis, because they call him
always just
that.
assumed that it was because he had a big dick.
I thought so too, but they call him that before
Is he
had
like
sex with him.
high up in a corporation? I also thought he was like an executive or something.
Yeah, everybody in the show has an interesting, high-powered job. And she's always saying, like, Samantha just met Marvin. Marvin is an executive marketing man at a sports news
Is this America Now
paper.
I'm listening to? I feel you're putting
now.
me... I'm sitting there, I'm doing the dishes. And for some reason, I sit when I do the
This
dishes and
America
I'm listening
Now.
to America Now.
This America's life now.
This is
life.
America Now.
So he's a successful man, I suppose. What's interesting to me is trying to dissect his motives, his sincerity towards her. Is he a good guy or is he a piece of shit?
But also, is he into her? Is that part of it as well?
Yeah,
like,
that is,
she likes him, and we can't quite tell.
She likes him, and then it's like, and then he's on a date with somebody else, and then they have this conversation. Right. Well, we never said we were exclusive. So it's navigating all those kind of, I guess, things that ghosts unsaid and
things that ghosts
have said, and how a male or a female might interpret those things differently and how they approach those different conflicts. And yeah, he is kind of a little bit mysterious, and you watch him and like he's not making the effort to empathize with her.
Right.
Like all of the characters are stuck in their own perspectives, which I think is a little frustrating, but also makes the show what it is. So yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want you to keep watching, and I want you to let me know if it gets its like hooks in you. Has it got its hooks in you at all?
I think it's got its hooks in me because it makes fairly trite observations about these cultural differences between couples and single people, and how like as soon as somebody enters into a couple, all of a sudden, like from a female perspective, single females are now their enemy. They're now a threat,
right? Because
like you haven't settled down, and they'll often use this device of interviewing complete strangers, which I guess is her interviewing them for their column.
Is it done talking head style?
No. It'll just like quickly zoom into them while they're playing basketball or while they're in a meeting, and they'll turn to the camera and and like internal
break
monologue.
The fourth wall.
Yeah, and they'll just say what their perspective is on this issue. So every episode sort of has a theme, so it's not just like a slap together storyline. Every episode, kind of like Sea Change. I think the first season of Sea Change kind of did that as well, really, really well. And Scrubs as well does that to some extent, where there'll be a theme that there's 3 storylines, and it just so happens that every storyline has this theme of, married people versus single people, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like secret sex. So there was an episode about the men that they've had sex with that they didn't want to tell the other 3 of their friends about, whether it was because they were embarrassed or because it would be frowned upon for whatever reason. So yeah, it kind of fleshes out those things that, I don't know, I've thought about these things before, but this show just kind of zeroes in on them and drills down on them in a very direct way that I haven't really seen in another show.
Okay.
Other shows kind of dance around it, but she's talking about it in her column.
So there's more of a uniqueness to this in a way, like...
Yeah, I think it is.
Because you can't find this maybe anywhere else in like such a... for lack of a better term, believable or...
Yeah, well, they really unpack things.
Realistic way.
They never really seem to... The show never seems to... like Full Metal Jacket, never seems to make a judgment about these things. It just kind of unpacks things. Yeah. So it's cool. It's probably my favorite show.
Are you enjoying it more than Entourage?
I think it's more thought provoking than Entourage. but I think I enjoy them probably about the same,
Okay.
but for totally different reasons.
Yes.
Entourage is just kind of like, just an explosion of fun and entertainment.
It's very over the top.
Yeah.
I think you describe both of these shows as like, porn for men and porn for women. Like, not porn, but, like guilty pleasure style, like dumb TV. But I don't know, it just doesn't sound like Sex and the City is actually as dumb as maybe it sort of has a public perception.
No, I don't think it's dumb. And maybe other people listening to this would think that I'm over-analysing it and overthinking it, but no, it's not just some silly show about sex in the city.
Yeah. Oh, vapid. Or what's the word? Like vain.
Yeah.
I think the characters are kind of vain is the understanding I get. Like, are they not?
I mean... Yeah,
or vapid.
Yeah, like they're all very self-centered. They're all focused on what they're doing, and how they can be. Yeah, they're just focused on what. But it's no different to like Seinfeld or
fair enough.
Or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something like that, which are both far superior shows.
You like the four main characters in Sex and the City more than the four main characters in Entourage?
I mean, that's the thing, right? People say, like, are you a Charlotte or are you a... That's a thing
people are always asking me if I'm a Charlotte.
Asking if you're a Charlotte or a Samantha.
You're a charlatan.
Or a Jonathan or a John Cowan.
I'm a turtle. I'm an E.
I can see, like, the difference in the characters, but I don't know that there's that great a deal to... Yeah, I mean they're all girls, so they're all.
But I mean, when I think about Entourage, I'm like, when we were talking about it before, I was like, oh, I don't like any of the four main characters. They're all suck.
Yeah, no, I like Charlotte the most.
Okay,
Charlotte's the best. She's an art dealer. She's, she seems nice.
Yeah, sick.
She seems nice.
Yeah. I've been watching Daria. I've been watching lots of Daria.
Cool spots.
And just a short anecdote on that, like. Growing up, I related so much to. We were talking before about how I relate to
Tom,
Trent. No,
Jane.
So sorry, I got some messages I needed to look at.
Quinn.
One of the shows you were watching. Oh, I relate to E and how lame that is, and how much I hate E, and part of the reason I hate E is because I relate to him. And I see myself in him.
Yeah.
But growing up, I related to Daria a whole heap, which is no good because you don't want to be like Daria necessarily. And now watching it much older and with a family, I relate to Jake, and that's also incredibly sad. Yeah. Oh, not totally, but in a number of ways.
Yeah, the old mashed potato on the head every night.
Yeah, that's right. Morgan, Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out.
Happy Gilmore to you too.
Happy Gilmore to all of us. I want to know, what do you think? What do you think's happening in Happy Gilmore 2?
But hold on, I was listening, but also I was messaging somebody. So
I'm just saying that when I was a teenager, I was like, I related to Daria.
Now you relate to Jake.
And now I relate to Jake.
But
and
did you talk about the restoration project and the music?
No, I didn't, because we got to finish this podcast.
So there's
soon.
a DVD version of Daria that came out, and because Daria was on MTV, they had all this music that they were allowed to use in between every scene. It would fade up and fade down in like 5-second spurts, but it kind of added to the whole charm of the show. And at the end of every episode, they would have a song as well. And the DVD release just has, I don't know, like garage band music.
Yeah, like
royalty-free music.
Because it was in a... sorry, again, I was looking at my phone because I had to message someone. The whole thing with Daria is because it was on MTV. It was like... so many of the shows on MTV, they were able to just splice all kinds of crazy like modern music in every single transition. Like there are probably like 30 to 40 full songs, or like not full songs, snippets of like popular music from that era in between scenes in Daria, in classic shows like Room Raiders, or The Next Bus, Next. these reality TV shows, The Real World, I think. I never watched that one. Because they had a license, MTV, to play music.
Yeah.
They paid the royalties to have it. And so, like, when Daria first came out here in Australia and we were watching it, it had all this great alternative... I mean, great, maybe not so much now by today's standards. When you look back on it, a lot of it's cringe, but it had lots of alternative music that was harder to get your hands on back then because the internet wasn't as prevalent. In between every fucking scene, and like it added to the alternative sort of vibe and aesthetic of this show. And then when they tried to release all the episodes on DVD, obviously they couldn't license fucking like a crazy catalogue of music because it costs heaps to pay to get those songs on you. When every episode has like, 10 to 20 songs.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's a crazy amount of money to spend to license them, and how long's that license for, and what happens when the license runs out.
So somebody out there did a restoration project where they've upscaled every episode and they've somehow got the audio or the original audio of the Daria.
No, yeah. So I think they compared I think they got the DVD versions, which have all this bastardized, replaced, like sort of like look-alike-y style music. So you can hear like some songs are clearly like Radiohead. Adjacent
sounds like
style.
Creep.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of Creep, it's Weirdo.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff. What do you call it? Like Wish Radiohead, or We Have Radiohead at Home, style stuff.
Instead of Creep by Radiohead, it's Weirdo by Video Brain.
That's right. Yes. But the restoration project was one of these internet initiatives to get a bunch of people together to like, first find out the track listing of every episode, find out where the song comes in, and then digitally, like, download the songs, digitally edit them over the top of the DVD versions,
Instead
and like
of
use
Tom
voice
York,
isolate.
It's Tim Zealand.
Yep,
It
is.
New York, New Zealand.
And instead of Blur, it's Smudge.
Yeah.
And instead
of Coffee and TV, it's Tea and Telly.
Yep, Tea and Telly.
Tea and movies.
And instead of Rob Zombie, it's Give, a live person.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the restoration project. I think they also did some weird upscaling as well. But yeah. So I've that's a battle I've been having. Is we've been watching Daria on Paramount, and then my friend has a Plex server that is wonderfly maintained, and I have access to, and it's fantastic. But I've been bugging him to like delete the version he downloaded of Daria and upload it again from the like. Download the restoration version and re-upload that to his server, and now I'm watching that, and I'm trying to change the audio track to find the version with the original music, and it's not there. So I don't know. I'm already up to season 3.
It's a huge undertaking.
There's only 5 seasons, aren't there?
There's 5 seasons, and there's 2 movies.
I've missed 2 seasons worth of music.
They also changed Daria's voice, so instead of talking in a monotone, she sounds like this.
That's right. And Trent is now trans.
Yeah. Instead of being called Trent, his name is trans. And a Happy Gilmore 2 to you too. We talked about Adam Sandler last week, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more now, because it sounds like there's a new Happy Gilmore 2.
Happy Gilmore. I was just I was doing a bit of meditation on what the storyline would be. And I think that some of the data points we have is that, like, obviously Adam Sandler is signed on.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that
Shooter
Happy
McGavin's
Gilmore and Shooter McGavin is signed on. Like, we assume these two guys are coming back to their original roles. So, and we also assume that they're not playing themselves 28 years ago.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
What's the story?
What's happened is that nobody's watching golf anymore. And Happy's retired. He's got quite enough money. His grandma's long passed.
His grandma's dead.
And they want him to come back because ratings were never better than when Happy Gilmore was slogging those golf balls across the course like they were some sort of hockey puck.
So true.
So I don't know what the conflict is there for him. I guess what happens is
he doesn't want to come out of retirement. He's happy. He won't do it. He has to be begged to.
So why would he? Shooter McGavin, just because Shooter McGavin's like, you eat
What about-
pieces of shit for breakfast again.
Maybe that's a rivalry, and Shooter signs back on to be on the tour, and Happy's like, I don't know. I guess Shooter McGavin has to try and take something away from Happy again, and Happy's like, oh, this again? All right, fine. I guess I'll play.
Maybe there's a lawsuit that...
What if Shooter McGavin got real good at hockey, and now he's the star hockey player?
It's a flip.
And
So
now Happy's like, oh, I got to get good at skating. So
Shooter McGavin approaches hockey in a very gentle style.
Yeah, very gentle and measured style. And somehow he's able to take these very long, calculated putts from halfway across the ice hockey rink and score. Yeah, I like it.
Yep, that's good. Or it could be air hockey, maybe air hockey. I reckon there will be a scene with air hockey.
Okay.
Or like video game hockey.
I'm sure whatever happens, it won't be as good as Happy Gilmore.
Oh, no.
How could it possibly be?
Oh, no. But we're going to see... hey, he's going to say, like, you're still eating pieces of shit for breakfast? He'll say that. He'll say that exact line.
He will say that.
What else? Lay by the Bay, I Just May might make another...
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's pretty
Very good movie. We got to wrap this up. Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. I just want to give a couple of plugs.
It was my pleasure.
If you're listening to this before Thursday, the 23rd of May, and you live in Canberra, Morgan and I are playing an EP launch show down at Sideway, the best music venue in Canberra.
Come on down, it's going to be sick.
Come on down, it's going to be great. We've got Stockholm supporting us. Thank you to the wonderful lads from Liverpool for supporting us. We're going to play a lot of stuff of our new EP. You can get out there and listen to that on all streaming services. It's called Static Heat.
Yep.
And
3 tracks.
You can rock up on the night. You can pay $10, get entry. Sure.
Or you could
do that.
become a tryhard on our Patreon for $8.50 a month, and you'll get in for free. That's $1.50 less than what you would pay to get into the gig. Plus, you get access to all our additional content, including behind the paywall episodes of this magnificent thing we call the Big Reef Podcast. Gian Cowan signing out.
So yes, do that. Sign up to our Patreon, get more episodes of the podcast, get our releases before they come out, get all kinds of additional shit. You get alternate versions of our songs. We've got so many ideas that we haven't yet put up there. We're pacing them out, but I think the main sort of benefit is free entry to shows, and also if you like this podcast, you get double the amount of podcasts because every alternate podcast is behind the paywall.
And far superior as well.
And we go into topics that are too hot to handle for some.
Right. If you want to hear my salacious new character, that is going to be behind the paywall, as well as an exclusive chat about what we both think about people who wear socks with sandals.
That's right.
Cop a load of that.
I got like our Instagram is filled to the brim with messages from artists, musicians, etc. from around Australia.
So we're going to be screenshotting them and posting them on the Patreon as well.
And talking about how they're never going to get on the podcast. No, we got lots of people that we once we can be bothered setting up a Skype call, and I don't know, the editing like Skype call podcast is a bit of a pain, so it's why I haven't really committed
and I don't want to give
it
too much away, but let's just say that somebody with the initials RAB stole the Horcrux from the
Horcrux?
The Horcrux, and they will also. Sorry, I got confused for a second.
Horcrux.
I got confused. I thought that RAB was going to be on the podcast, but then I realized I was just thinking about Harry Potter.
Thinking about Harry Potter. But we will have the guy that I made fun of on TikTok on the next podcast. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening. See you in hell.
Thanks, guys. Don't forget your toothbrush.